To start, isn't there, really? It's at the Etihad. Man City, dismantled the champions Liverpool with that comprehensive 3-0 win. But could it have been different? Should it have been different if Virgil van Dijk's header hasn't been ruled out in the first half with the score at 1-0? Look, Dermot, we're going to get straight into it with you. Is this a subjective decision or that grey area for you?
I think both, Hayley. I think it is subjective without doubt. And it is a grey area because it's all about the interpretation. And as we've seen, we were just talking off screen, Jay and I, and we see things slightly different, don't we? Everybody sees things slightly different. And that's why you can throw up a decision from last year or earlier in the season and go, well, you know, they made a slightly different decision. It's because we see things slightly differently. I don't think there's hard and fast rules.
Yeah, what do you think, Jay?
I think this should have been given a goal. If you look at it here, Van Dijk's gone up, he's headed the ball. When you look at Donnarumma, he is coming across slightly to his right, but then he pivots to the left. So that means he can see where the ball is going. Yes, Robertson has ducked, but if anything, the person that's in his eye line more would be Doku, more than Robertson. And, you know, I don't know if you can read the rule, but it was something along the lines of the player making an action. A player making an action, in my opinion, is if he moves towards the ball or he tries to make contact with the ball. Robertson there has just ducked. So to me, he's made no action or effort to try and deflect the ball or get his head on it or whatnot. He's just got himself out the way of the ball. So that's why I think it should have been given, and I think that was a poor decision.
Yeah, look, we'll look specifically at the rules in just a moment, go through it. But look, this is what Andy Robertson made of the call.
I can't really comment on it. I think we'll let other people do that. But for me, it looked as, you know, a duck out the way. But I don't think the keeper is in any eye line to me, and that's the rules we get told at the start of the season. So it's a little bit of a difficult one. So I think that should have stood.
OK, so, right, these are the rules then. This is what we want to clarify. So, Dermot, we've got the first bullet point, clearly obstructing the opponent's line of vision. And draw your attention to the fourth bullet point, making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball. What's in play here?
Also 3, isn't it? Where he's close to the opponent. And I think that's got to be bear in mind. We saw at Everton a few weeks ago, Jack Grealish, corner comes across, Jake O'Brien heads it on, and Jack Grealish is stood next to Vicario. And I think this is similar in so much as Robertson's. If you look behind the goal, when Van Dijk heads the ball, Robertson is within 2 feet of the goalkeeper. So his presence impacts. This is the problem. It's not an exact science. There isn't somebody to go, that's definitely this, that's definitely this.
But I mean, one thing I would say, Bernardo Silva last season had the same, and a goal got given. I think it was with the same referee as well. So again, I mean, it's an interpretation, but it's the same referee. When I look at this, yes, he is close to him. So he might see him in his peripheral vision. He might understand that he is there. But obviously, first and foremost, Donnarumma is focused on the ball because he needs to know exactly where the ball is going. Now, there's no hesitation from Donnarumma, as in where is it going? So the fact that he hasn't hesitated at all and he's dived away, he's probably a hand away from the ball. He's dived, he hasn't gone, higher or lower. It's actually in line with where the ball enters the net.
Yep.
Tells me it wasn't offside. And Robinson, he's ducked out the way. He's ducked. The person that is more in his eye line that would have hindered him more in terms of vision would have been Doku, because Doku was standing right ahead of him. So that's why I think it should have been a goal, and I think it's a poor decision. But, like you said, it's an interpretation. And I think they need to, clamp down on the rules, how to make it more clear.
Yeah, well, that was my start point, wasn't it? Is that we have this grey area, we have this interpretation. Just to clear one thing up, I'm not trying to defend Chris Kavanagh, but I don't think you should hang him back to dry because he didn't make that decision yesterday. The decision was made by the assistant. The one at Wolves, he made the decision because he was sent to the monitor yesterday. He wasn't. So it is slightly different in that. Yeah. Bear in mind, this was an on-field decision. The on-field decision was no goal. So the VAR looks and the VAR says, is Robertson in offside position? Yes. Is he impacting on the goalkeeper? They obviously felt yes because he was close. And I think that's why people are going, well, it should be this, it should be this. At the moment, it's not, is it? At the moment, it's left to interpretation.
Is that what? But the VAR said, why don't you go and look at the screen at this one? Is the reason why they didn't do that because they're like, well, we don't know, so we're just going to go with your decision on this one?
No, see, the VAR's not there to judge. It's not a panacea. It's not going to say, you've got this right, Jay, you've got this wrong.
Surely that's what VAR's for, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not. That's a complete myth. It's there. Is it a clear and obvious error? Well, when you go through it stage by stage, is Robertson in offside position? Yes. Not necessarily an offence, but he is in offside position.
Yep. It's not an offence, is it?
No, that's what I said. It's not an offence, but he's in an offside position.
Yes.
Point one. Point two is he close to the goalkeeper and possibly impacting him? Well, he is.
But he's not impacting him, though.
Well, the assistant felt he was, and the video shows that he is in that position.
But that's an interpretation, isn't it? If he's impacting him.
Exactly. And if the VAR says you have to go and look at this, what you're doing, you're re-refereeing because you're saying...
But VAR do that every week. VAR do that all the time.
VAR gets...
Why is this any different?
Because they didn't think it was a clear and obvious error. And
but then surely you should say to him, go to the camera to see if you think you've got this wrong.
You're not listening. You're not listening. He can only be sent to the screen if it's a clear and obvious error or if it's a subjective offside which they have to go through. The on-field decision was no goal.
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, what can you do? The on-field decision can be backed up by the video, can't it? He is in offside position. He is close to the goalkeeper. So they say he's impacted.
Yeah, but they're not impacted. Was it again? Sorry, the term they used, the fourth one.
It was
impacting an opponent.
Making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball.
Where is the action that he's made that's impacted anything? That's what I want to know. Like, there is no action. An action would be throwing a foot at the ball or throwing your head at the ball. He has ducked. There is absolutely no action there that says he is interfering with play.
But we've gone through that.
What's the action? What is the action that they've gone with there? Can you tell me that?
I've told you.
What's that?
I've told you. He's in that proximity. He's moved away from the ball to clear the ball.
And that's my point. If he's moving away from the ball, it's not an action. If he was moving towards the ball, if he made an action toward the ball to try and flick it, then I could understand. The fact that he's just moved out the way, that's not an action.
But he's moved out of the way to clear the ball. So his impact on the goal. That was the decision.
Yeah,
Wait. The decision was disallowed on field. And that's what I'm explaining to you. You can ask me till 12 o'clock when we go off air.
But the fact that he's moved out the way, Derms, the fact that he's moved out the way, which means Donnarumma's still got full vision of the ball. So he's moved, so Donnarumma he's got a better chance of saving it. The fact that he's moved.
He has.
If he deflects it the other way, then he's got no chance.
He has, but that ball has moved 10 yards before he's moved out of the way. I can only tell you what I've seen, what the law is, and what they've come up with.
And bearing in mind as well, let's take this into consideration. Donnarumma's 6'7". Robertson is probably 5'8". So he can see and look. He's above everyone, right? So he can see the ball coming. And I just don't see, if the ball was coming from this angle and he's standing behind, then I would say I completely understand that. Okay. But the fact that he's standing I don't even know if I'm on the screen, sorry, Domes, can I use you? The fact that he's standing there and the ball's coming this way, I don't understand how he would be impacting. He's aware that he's there, but he definitely wouldn't be impacting him. The only time he would impact him, if he makes an action towards the ball. Sorry, Domes, I manhandled you there.
That's fine.
Let's just leave it there with you guys for now. Let's move on to what Jamie Carragher made of it yesterday. This is what he thinks.
We've got to keep an eye on Donnarumma here and where he shifts his weight. Now, right now, if he's going to dive, you could say, OK, Andy Robertson is in his way, but we're going to try and move this on really, really slowly. Donnarumma's weight is going to his right. He thinks the header for Van Dijk is going to go to his right. Look at his foot. So he's moving actually the opposite way. His foot is now planted now. Exactly the time the ball goes over Andy Robertson's head. So that is the true moment we should be looking at, not when it leaves Van Dijk's head, when it goes over Andy Robertson's head and he makes an action to get out of the way of the ball.
Does he have a point there then, Dermot?
I think everybody has a point, Hayley, because everybody sees it slightly differently. And that's what, so you asked me at the start, is it subjective, is it a grey area? And I said both. And I think that's the problem. There is no hard and fast. There isn't almost a line that you go, that's this, that's this. It's left to interpretation because the law isn't tight enough.
OK, let's get Arne Slot's view then here now.
I think it's obvious and clear that the wrong decision has been made, at least in my opinion.
Sorry, Arne, why do you think that?
Because he didn't interfere at all with what the goalkeeper could do. I immediately after the game, someone showed me the goal that what the same referee allowed City against Wolves last season, Wolves against City last season. So it took the linesman 13 seconds to raise his flag to say it's offside. So there was clearly communication.
Yeah, so Slot bringing up that Wolves game then. So Dermot, take us through the differences between yesterday's decision and what Slot referenced from last season, Chris Kavanagh, the referee again.
I think this one he's bang in line. There's no doubt about that, he's bang in line. So it's a matter of, does he think he's in his line of vision when he was sent to the screen? Because the on-field decision was no goal. He was sent to the screen because it was subjective. When he went to the screen, he felt there was enough distance between them where the ball had gone because the ball's gone up high.
I'll tell you why this one's a little bit different, Derms, because Bernardo Silva's actually made contact with the goalkeeper as well. But the fact that it's still been given tells me that, I mean, he has, as the ball's been headed, obviously Bernardo Silva's moved away there. So I think that is the right decision. It should have been given. And I think that one is a very good example of what should have been given yesterday. Is very, very similar. If anything, that one's worse because Bernardo Silva's actually touched the goalkeeper and put him off.
Yeah,
I think what it highlights is how difficult these kind of decisions are.
Should he not have sent him over to the screen, though?
Well, they found the assistant to give offside. And as I said earlier, everything backs that up, doesn't it?
You know what, though? I have to be honest with you. Again, I allude back to if players are allowed to go into the VAR room to just help. Because I haven't heard one single player yet, ex-player, whoever, say that shouldn't have been a goal. That's the correct decision. Every single ex-player that I've spoken to and heard from, they've said that's a goal.
Yeah.
The only people I'm hearing, you know, is it shouldn't be, is the referees and the ex-referees.
Maybe that's why I'm an ex-referee.
We could be here all day, couldn't we? But, I mean, we're going to stay with this game because if that wasn't enough, Man City actually were awarded a penalty in the first half following a VAR review. Right decision in the end here for this one, though, Jay, with Doku.
Yeah, I do think this is the right one. Again, we always talk about, from the defending point of view, if you touch the ball ever so slightly, you've got the ball, so it's not a penalty or a free kick. In this instance, Doku has been touched. He's running at speed, and any little touch that you get can put you off. To me, when you see the way he's like, he's still trying to shoot the ball, but you can see that he's not looking for that at all. He's been touched, his foot's touched him slightly, but his knees touched him as well. It's the correct decision for me.
Yeah, Dermot, with a high threshold we talk about, is there enough there to call that a clear and obvious error?
I think this is a penalty. I don't think there's enough with a foot, a slight touch with a foot, because not every contact is going to be a penalty, we know that. But he does catch him with his knee. And if you watch, it's not that. When he catches him there, he knocks him out of his stride, and by knocking him out of his stride, he loses the opportunity to shoot.
But can I say one thing to you, Dums? Because we always go back and forward on this now every single week pretty much. And you say to me, if the ball is touched minusculely, it's okay. Because he's got the ball, the defender's got the ball in the penalty area, outside the penalty area, whatever. Why is it not the same threshold for a player if he gets touched minusculely? Why are we talking about, is it enough? Because when it comes to an attacker, a defender touching the ball, you're saying it's enough. Any little touch is enough. Why is it not the same for attackers when they're going through into the box?
I think that's a penalty.
I know you're saying that.
I think there's enough. I think he's caught him with his knee.
I know you're saying that one is enough, but what I'm trying to say is we're going to see some going forward now, and we spoke about some before where we say, is it enough that he's just touched them and he's gone down in the box? We have that all the time. We discuss that on air, off air. But the threshold on the other end, any little touch on the ball, it's okay.
Every game I refereed, I see players make physical contact. I see players clash. I didn't give a foul every time. When you played, you used physicality to shield the ball, whatever. I didn't give a free kick against
But
him.
I think there should be more quality is what I'm saying. If you're saying that any little touch on a ball is okay for a defender to make and it's not a free kick or a penalty, then it should be the same on the opposite way. Any little bit of contact on a player's foot which puts him off balance or stops him from having a shot or stops him to getting a ball, then that should be a penalty or a free kick as well.
I think you're out of kilter here because if you play football, it's not accepted, is it? It's accepted it's a physical game. It's accepted that players are going to clash. It's accepted that there's going to be contact. What the referee, is that contact enough to knock that player out to lose the ball? Is that contact enough to give a penalty?
Yeah, and I'm saying, is the contact enough to touch the ball away from a forward if he can get the ball again? This is what I'm alluding to. But like we've seen it. What was it? Gallagher, for example. Because that's the one that we go back to. Is that enough of contact on the ball to stop Gallagher getting to the ball? And it's not enough contact because the ball is still in touching distance. He can still take probably 3 more strides if the keeper doesn't hit him. That's my point.
Yeah, but there's going to be hundreds of incidents like that.
That first half, I think Slot said exactly the same. They just couldn't cope with them. And this is a goal where every player in Sky Blue touches the ball in the lead up to a goal. So brilliant goal. But really poor from Liverpool's point of view defensively. You know, you think where they have Manchester City now, and if you say Manchester City are going to get out of there and going to score a goal.
Missing the quadrant, firstly, isn't it?
Exactly, from one end of the pitch to the other. But what was really good was Manchester City of late have come up with a tactic of being very narrow in midfield. And I just want to show how this impacts Liverpool in this goal, really. And as they're playing it really well. Again, it's really poor for Liverpool. They should be able to get a challenge and get a touch on the ball. But as this ball now comes in here, and we'll stop it now. Now, the knock-on effect of Manchester City having a really narrow midfield we'll get to. But this is Man City's midfield. And Doku there, if I can get that right there. That is Manchester City's midfield. And the idea is to create space for the fullbacks here. And it caused Liverpool huge problems. Now, let's see the knock-on effect as we get to the goal for Liverpool. Now, the reason the midfield's really narrow is that then drags Andy Robertson inside, and it means Virgil van Dijk has got to come across. So the tactic, certainly in this first goal, yes, wonderful football. We'll see that Manchester City midfield together, and now we see Núñez venturing forward. Now Virgil van Dijk has to come across, and this is really interesting on the goal. No centre-back wants to be in that position. Keep an eye on Virgil van Dijk. He looks once. He's desperate to get back to centre-back. He looks again. Andy Robertson in there. They can't move because the ball's on that side of the pitch. Now Van Dijk there again. He's having another little look inside. Again, he's desperate to move. Andy Robertson seems fine at centre-back. He knows how tough it is at full-back. But they shouldn't move because the ball is on this side. This time it comes in again. Virgil van Dijk comes out like a proper left-back, if you like. Bit more aggressive on the front foot, but he doesn't feel comfortable. We know that, and he's desperate to get back. As soon as this ball comes across, Virgil van Dijk starts coming over now.
He's trying to go back in.
He's trying to go back in, but he shouldn't do, because Andy Robertson, even now, there. Look at Andy Robertson now. We just take that back a couple of frames. He knows exactly where that ball is going. He knows it's going back on that side, but what he's not saying is, I'm going over there. It's like, it's coming back there. Stay there, Virg, stay there. Virgil van Dijk doesn't want to. We got on that early on when he kept looking over his shoulder. And then when this ball comes across now to Ruben Diaz, there's no way Andy Robertson is going to get there before the ball gets there.
Is there any way that because that ball is still just outside the centre circle, Van Dijk thinks there's enough time to get back in?
Well, he obviously does think there's enough time, but we know the old adage, players don't move as quick as the ball.
Yeah.
Now, it comes to Núñez. He's not even off the ground and he's trying to flick it on. Go and get up as high as you can, look at Haaland and head that ball away. I don't understand at all what Konate is trying to do. There's been no real impact from Haaland and he's trying to flick it on. Haaland gets a little bit of luck. Maybe he deserves that luck the season he's had. He's been absolutely fantastic. But Konate again, when Liverpool concede a goal or a problem, is at the heart of it, and he's got a big problem away from home. A lot of his big performances this season, Manchester United, he played well. Real Madrid in midweek, he played really well. Arsenal, early in the season, he played really well. But away from home, which is when you need your centre-backs. Your centre-backs need to play well away from home if you're going to get results. And too often this season, he's gone missing away from home.
Manchester City were dominant, and they fully deserved their victory. I think everybody would agree with that. Liverpool will feel that they could have, that this might not have changed the overall result, but it would have meant they were in with a shout.
This should have gone 1-1. For me, it's a goal, and we'll just look at it from this angle. And when you look at this angle, you may think, OK, I can understand why it's been, not given. You look at Andy Robertson's position there. Is he impacting the goalkeeper? Now, there's a better angle now to see this. Now, I'm going to really slow this down because what a lot of people have looked at is when this ball now comes to Virgil van Dijk's head, let's just knock it on a couple, and they've looked at there. It's just left Virgil van Dijk's head, OK? And if you stop it there, I can totally understand why that would be given maybe as offside, because Andy Robertson looks really close to the goalkeeper.
And the line of the law that we are looking at here is an obvious action by a player that clearly impacts an opponent's ability to play the ball.
Yeah.
So it's what Robertson does to whether it affects Donnarumma.
OK. So we've got to keep an eye on Donnarumma here and where he shifts his weight. Now, right now, if he's going to dive, you could say, OK, Andy Robertson is in his way, but we're going to try and move this on really, really slowly. Donnarumma's weight is going to his right. He thinks the header for Van Dijk is going to go to his right. Look at his foot. So he's moving actually the opposite way. His foot is now planted now. Exactly the time the ball goes over Andy Robertson's head. So that is the true moment we should be looking at, not when it leaves Van Dijk's head, when it goes over Andy Robertson's head and he makes an action to get out of the way of the ball.
So by saying that he's already made the dive before Robertson ducks, he isn't basically waiting to see whether Robertson's going to get a touch on it. That's what you're saying. So the duck is irrelevant because he's already made his decision to go.
He can see everything because his initial movement was to the right. He's now diving full stretch. Andy Robertson right now does not impact the goalkeeper one bit because he's already diving full stretch for the Virgil van Dijk header because initially he's misread it. And that's why all his weight has gone onto his right foot because he thinks the ball is going to go in the other side of the goal. So he can see it clearly and he's diving full stretch. And Andy Robertson getting out of the way of the ball, when you look at the line that you've just mentioned in terms of the rules of offside, has absolutely no bearing on what happens here.
It was disallowed on the field, and therefore VAR would have seen no clear and obvious reason to overturn that. And yet you wonder, given everything that you've broken down there, whether they could have gone to Chris Kavanagh. Actually, because it's subjective, do you want to go and just have a look at it?
I don't understand that. I have a little bit. Arne Slot mentioned this in his interview after the game about it took 13 seconds before the linesman's flag went up. So there was obviously a lot of communication between the referee and the linesman. Now, if they don't give the decision right away, what I don't understand is that why not just let it go to VAR? The ball's going in. You're not quite sure if it's offside or not. You haven't put your flag up. Let VAR look at it. I don't understand this idea that we've got to give a decision on the pitch. 13 seconds later, they lifted the flag. So I think, listen, we've mentioned about Manchester City maybe getting a little bit of luck with the Haaland goal. Liverpool have definitely been unlucky there, but Manchester City were not lucky to win the game. Manchester City were streets ahead of Liverpool, especially in that first half.
and streets ahead of Liverpool. They're now within 4 points of Arsenal. That gap being reduced, Arsenal drawing last night at Sunderland, and just the overall dominance of City this afternoon. Would you be nervously looking over your shoulder?
I think Arsenal will be nervous because of it's Man City. And they've done this to them twice before. Twice in the last 3 years, Manchester City have come from behind and caught Arsenal. And also the manner of the victory today. That first half performance when Man City was a little bit like, oh, you know, they're playing Liverpool. Liverpool are the champions. They absolutely took them the cleaners. And I think on the back of Arsenal dropping points against a promoted team who were doing absolutely fantastically well in the Premier League, Sunderland, they'll have been hoping for a draw. They'll have seen City's not just win, but performance, and probably getting a few flashbacks to what's happened the last couple of times when they felt they had a great chance at the title. And it might be a long 2 weeks thinking and worrying about Manchester City for Arsenal supporters and players.
And genuinely, that plays into the psychology then, because it's not like, say, there's a midweek Premier League game or even just one next weekend where you reset and go again. It's 2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the problem with international break when you don't have a great result. There's a long time to think about it. I still think Arsenal are the best team I've seen in this league this season, no doubt. But there's an awful long way to go. And there's no doubt because Arsenal haven't won the league for so long, those supporters, players, manager, everyone will become twitchy in the second half of the season if it becomes tight.
OK, well, he was very honest. He was a little bit more than Virgil van Dijk wanted to say. Let's remind you of what the Match Centre put out on social media as the explanation. The referee's call of offside and no goal to Liverpool was checked and confirmed by VAR, with Robertson in an offside position and deemed to be making an obvious action directly in front of the goalkeeper. Do you go along with that, Michael?
No. Directly in front of the goalkeeper, no, I don't. He's obviously making an action to get out of the way. He's not making an action towards the ball, which then would be deemed as an offside infringement. He's not in the line of sight, and you take Andy Robertson off the pitch there, it goes in regardless. He's not, as Arne Slot said, he's not in any way, shape or form affecting the goalkeeper and his decision to dive for that ball. It was a fantastic head. It's gone right in the corner. You know, you can see there, Donnarumma gets a good, clear sight of it and dives straight away. You know, Andy Robertson doesn't interfere whatsoever with that. He can get nowhere near it. It's a poor decision, I feel. And as I say, he's getting out of the way of it. Now, if he's ducking and then tries to flick it on and misses it, then that's different. That's then making an action towards the ball, and then that you know, qualifies as the rule that, you know, makes it an offside decision. But that is quite the opposite, and I thought it was a poor decision. It would have been 1-1. It would have changed the game, no question about it. However, I think Arne Slot, certainly myself, I wouldn't hide behind that excuse. It could have changed the outcome of the game, but Manchester City were the best team.
Let's just remind you of Rule 11 from the offside page of the IFAB handbook, and in particular, that very last sentence at the bottom there. It says, making an obvious action which clearly impacts on the ability of an opponent to play the ball. Is that reflective of that particular incident, do you think, Jolien?
I don't think so. I agree with Michael there. I think the wording used to describe what's happened is not accurate in the description of what I've seen. He's moving out of the way, the flight of the ball, and even if Donnarumma is blindsided where Andy Robertson's position is, he's offside, so we shouldn't consider that, because if he does touch the ball, it's then clear. It's then an offside decision to be made. But yeah, I think if he's not involved in any way, the ball still goes into the net and Donnarumma doesn't get there.
Yeah, and for those people that think if you're just standing in an offside position, well, it should be offside anyway. Of course, there was a goal in this exact same fixture last season, which was given. And Szoboszlai scored. So I just, you know, I know it's not exactly the same, you know, scenario. It's not, you know, Curtis Jones isn't ducking out the way, but he is in an offside position. He's not blocking the line of sight, but this one has been given. And I don't, as much as it's not an identical situation, the principles are the same. You know, he's not blocking the sight of the goal. He's got no impact whatsoever, even though he's in an offside position, even though he's stood in front of the goal, yet that one's been given. So I do think there are similarities. And as I say, I just think it was a really poor decision.
I totally agree, yeah. I think that they'll look at it and I think they'll probably have a regret on making that decision. I have to say, I think it was wrong. Pretty much everyone says it's wrong. And even, you know, I don't think it changed the game. I think City had all the answers today anyway, so we can talk about it and discuss it for what it is. I just think it's pretty clear. You know, that was one instance really that gives Liverpool a bit of hope in the game. Other than that, I thought City were the better team by far.
Let's nip to the Etihad, talk to the former Liverpool striker, Robbie Fowler. Rob, did you think at the time in the ground that there was nothing wrong with that goal?
No, I think it was a clear goal. I mean, I understand and I looked at it that obviously Andy Robbo was in an offside position, but for me, he's not in the line of the keeper's sight. The keeper can still see the ball. In fact, he dives to his left and still doesn't get to it. So I just thought it was a poor decision. Obviously, the wording came on the screen. I was a little bit flummoxed actually, because I just didn't understand how they could have come to that conclusion. I mean, there's an argument to say that even if Andy Robbo had stood up, it would have hit him. I think he ducks just for the sake of it, but. I mean, it's a poor decision, and I mean, I've said before, I think Liverpool will be due and will get an apology from the PGMOL because, that's not good enough. I mean, that's poor. And I mean, obviously, I know Michael's talking there about Michael Carrick's talking about Liverpool were not great at Manchester City, and they were good value for that. But I mean, that moment could have swayed the game. It could have. I mean, Liverpool momentum going into the half. It might have, upped their game a little bit, and it could have been a real pivotal moment in the game.
But it didn't, and they've just lost 4 Premier League away games for the first time in 13 and a half years. Bigger picture, why are they searching for this consistency, do you think?
Yeah, I just think it's obviously square pegs, round holes with some of the players, trying to, shoehorn players into positions that they're not really comfortable. You look at obviously Florian Wirtz coming in as this wonderful player, this wonderful technician who's struggling to adapt to life in the Premier League. Whether that's obviously the energy, whether that's the physicality, or whether it's just that there's no absolute space for him to thrive. They've got him playing on the left when really that's not his best position. He's coming in, and obviously there's obviously spaces on the side. Then so Liverpool are. They haven't got the formation and the tactics to suit the players that they've currently got. I think even the midfield three, and as much as all the plaudits were great, and they were so good at midweek against Madrid, I don't think they were great today. And I just felt they were overrun in midfield by City. City did look the best team. City were the best team, and they were good value for the win. But it could have been so much different. But Liverpool just didn't show up today. I've just thought they were very, very predictable.
No, when we look at these numbers, we know how difficult it is to defend the Premier League trophy and win it again, which is why we've seen so many teams in the past. But there we go, the fewest points in the first 11 games, Liverpool 18. There's only 3 teams in history have had fewer. So to try and find that formula, his best 11, fit those new players into a team that aren't winning all the time, it's a big challenge for Arne Slot at the moment.
It is, and it's going to get worse because obviously Isak's on the bench and he's probably going to want minutes as well. So you've obviously got Frimpong will come back from injury. He's another player that will, want to play. He's signed as a fullback to replace Trent when really he wasn't a fullback. He was a wing back. So that's a problem straight away. You've got Kerkez who again struggling, not adapting to the Premier League, but I think he's struggling to adapt to life as a Liverpool player. Obviously, Ekitike has probably been the standout player, of all the players coming in. Florian Wirtz can't, he does look out of sort at the minute. I think he will adapt and get used to it. But out of the 450 million that's been spent on players, I mean, you could only argue saying that Ekitike is really the only one who's brought value.
Rob, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your efforts today. Would you go along with that? I mean, only Ekitike at the moment on paper looks an initial success.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think he's been really good. Obviously, more than 125 million anyway on Isak. He's been injured. He's had no real pre-season. You can make excuses for 1 or 2 of them, but I think it's fair to say of all the players so far, then I think Ekitike has been the standout, even though he hardly had a kick today.
And he's gone 5 games without a goal now.
Absolutely. So yeah. I mean, Arne Slot has gone back to the tried and trusted in recent times. I thought he would stick with the tried and trusted even more so today. I was surprised that Gakpo didn't play. I said that before the game. It's not hindsight. I was surprised he didn't play and Wirtz did. And especially on the back of two really good performances. I mean, that's as good as I've seen Liverpool play against Real Madrid only a few days ago, and then to put in that performance, it's the inconsistency that's the worry at the minute. They do know there's good performances in there. They have played well at times this season, but not enough and not consistently enough.
But from a coaching point of view, that's a challenge, isn't it now, to fit these players in, try and develop relationships, try and find a bit of momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that coming from Liverpool today, to be fair, that performance. I thought on the back of the week they've had, on the back of managing a big game against Madrid in midweek, I thought City topped them on that in terms of dealing with the occasion for what it was, knowing it was a big game, managing that, going into it, the mentality, knowing what it takes to win them type of games. I thought Liverpool going into the game would have carried that over, and that's part of the balance. That's the challenge of a coach, you know, to integrate players in when's a good time, when's not, and actually, if they had got to a draw today out of that game, we probably could still look at it and go, they've come through a tough week. As it stands, because the manner of the defeat today, it highlights things a little bit more, and then the extremities of each kind of decision get a little bit bigger. But it's part of the challenge. The questions are going to be there. They've spent a lot of money and they've had fits and starts and little signs and little shoots. But like Mo said, consistency in a big week, you know, to back that up today on the back of the other two would have been perfect. They've not had that. Kind of knocks them. The momentum goes a little bit, and it almost feels like they're coming back after internationals. They've almost got to start again and build what they've just had over the last couple of games.